Hello, how are you? You alright? Good. This is Freya and I am Julie and we're here to do your assembly today. And you might know that at the moment we are in the middle of Lent, which is what Christians call the weeks that run up to Easter. And you might know that some people choose to give something up for Lent. So they might stop eating chocolate, or they might stop drinking tea or coffee, or they might take something up. So they might decide to go for a walk every day or do more exercise generally. I don't normally choose to give up or take something up for Lent because normally I'm not very good at remembering to do it every day. But this year I have decided to take something up for Lent. This year I am trying to concentrate on this, see if you can wrap your head around it. This year for Lent I am trying to take delight in the people around me. What does that mean? You might be thinking, well, to take delight in something means to find the good things in it and appreciate them, to enjoy it and be joyful about something. So if I'm taking delight in the people around me, that means looking at the people I spend my time with. Some of them will be my family, some will be my friends, some of them might be people I work with or that I see just as I go about my life, and try and notice the good things in the people around me and celebrate them. That's what I'm trying to do for Lent, because I think sometimes we forget to see the goodness in the people around us that we see every day, and that's what I'm trying to do. Sometimes it's easy, isn't it, to get used to the things around us, the people and the things we see every day, and we just stop appreciating them. So I wanted to tell you a story about that to get you thinking. And this is actually a story that I remember my head teacher telling me in assemblies when I was at school, and now I'm going to tell it to you. This is the story of the house with the golden windows. There was once a boy who lived with his family on a small farm at the top of a hill. Every day he worked hard helping his parents, sowing seed in the fields, feeding the cows, looking after the chickens. And every evening as the sun went down, he would sit in his favourite spot with a bottle of fresh milk and a hunk of fresh bread and a big piece of homemade cheese, and he would watch the sun go down. Sometimes the boy got tired of his life working hard on the farm. He wondered whether other children had to work as hard as he did. And he would sit and dream of living in a palace with whole rooms full of gold and jewels. Then he wouldn't have to work as hard as he did now. And his dreams were inspired by the things that he could see as he sat and drank his milk and ate his bread and cheese every evening. As he looked out, his eyes fell first on the setting sun, and then they scanned across the horizon, until at last they landed on the hill opposite his own. And on top of that hill there was a house, with windows that were made of gold. And the boy would look at them as they gleamed and shone with a lustre that blew his mind. They glittered and gleamed with a richness and glow that filled his heart. And he would dream of living in a house with a family who were rich enough for the windows to be made of gold. And then one day his father came to him and said, "Son, you've worked hard. You've earned yourself a day off. Today shall be yours to call your own." And then he handed the boy a wrapped up package of bread and cheese and a bottle of milk, and he sent him on his way. And the boy stood on his favourite spot, and he knew straight away what he was going to do. He would go and seek out the house with the golden windows. Hoisting his knapsack onto his back, he picked up a thick, gnarled stick and set off down the hill. He walked down the hill from his house beside a glistening stream that glimmered in the sunlight. He listened to the singing of the birds as he moved beneath the canopy of green leaves in the forest. At lunchtime, he found a shady, mossy spot by a pool, unwrapped his parcel of food, and as he ate, he watched dragonflies and butterflies playing across the water. When he'd finished eating, he tidied up his things, put his bag back on his back, and he wandered through the meadow, where rabbits scampered from his feet and deer grazed in the long grass. After a while, he began to climb the hill opposite his own, at the top of which he knew he would find the house with the golden windows. The lowering sun warmed his back, bathing him in its golden glow, as excitement danced in his belly. This was the moment he had been waiting for. The path curved and climbed to the top of the hill until he knew the moment had come. Around this next bend was the house. He was about to see those golden windows up close for the first time. He held his breath as he rounded the corner, raised his eyes, and then he gasped in surprise, for there, in front of him, was just an ordinary house. It was just a farmhouse, like his own, with windows of plain glass, not a nugget of gold anywhere among them. So he turned to look back down the path where he'd come from, confused. He knew he'd come the right way, but where was the house? As he looked around him, he heard whistling coming down the path from the house in front of him. And then a girl came into view. She stopped when she saw him. "Excuse me," he said. "I've travelled today especially to see the house with the golden windows. They gleam and they glow and they're the most wonderful thing I've ever seen. But I can't seem to find it. Do you know where it is?" And the girl smiled excitedly. "I know the house of which you speak," she exclaimed. "You've just climbed the wrong hill. It's over there. Look." And she turned him by his shoulders and pointed across the valley to a house on a hilltop whose windows were bathed in gold by the setting of the sun. "But that's my house," he cried. And they stood, side by side, in silence, as they looked at the glittering gold of the setting sun. And it dawned in their hearts that sometimes we don't see the gold that is all around us because it becomes too familiar. After a while, he turned and shook her hand, and he thanked her, and then he set off back down the hill on his way home. And as he walked, his head was full of deer and rabbits and butterflies and dragonflies and forests and pools and streams and cows and chickens and fields and cheese and bread and milk. And as he reached his own home in the gathering dusk, he made his way to his favourite spot, and he sat down. Just this once he sat down with his back to the view across the valley that he loved, and his eyes fixed instead on his own home. His own home. The house with the golden windows. The boy was so sure, wasn't he, that that house across the valley would be so much better than his own. And it wasn't till he got there and looked back from a distance that he saw the value of his own house and his own family. Sometimes it's hard to notice the good things that are around us because our eyes get so used to them, they kind of stop noticing. But I think there's something really good about looking for the goodness, taking delight in the things and the people and the places around us. I think if we all tried to do that a bit more, we could change the world. We know that God looks at the world and sees the good things. We know when he made the world, he looked at it and said, that's good. And that doesn't mean that we don't make mistakes or mess up, but it does mean that it's worth fixing the mistakes because there's something good to repair and it's worth putting that effort into. It also tells us in the Bible that God takes delight in us, me and you. That's a big thought, isn't it? God takes delight in us. It says it in Zephaniah 3 verse 17. The Lord your God is with you. He is mighty to save. He will take great delight in you. He will quiet you with his love. He will rejoice over you with singing. And that's why, for Lent, I decided to try and take delight in the people around me. I thought, if God does it, it must be a good thing, right? I'll try it and see what happens. And it's really worthwhile because it means I'm noticing the good things. And it means when I've had a tricky day, I'm still making the effort to notice the little bits of goodness and the little bits of light. And that makes it easier to cope with the tough things. So, my challenge to you, and we'll do it all together in a minute, is just to take a moment to take delight in, to appreciate, to be joyful about, to celebrate something good in a person or a place around you. And we're going to do it together right now. Here's what I want you to do. Think of somebody or somewhere that you love. It could be a family member or a friend. It could be one of your favourite places. It could be your home. It could be your grandma's house or the park or the beach. Somebody or something or somewhere that you love. Think about it. Close your eyes now and think about that place or person or thing. Think about something you love about it. And in a minute, we'll say thank you to God in a prayer. But just think about what it is that you love about that person or place or thing. Let's pray. Dear God, thank you that there is so much to delight in the world around us. However dark it seems, there is always light somewhere, always something we can be thankful for. Help us to be like the boy at the end of the story, to see the good things around us, the goodness in the people and the places where we are. Help us to notice them, to lift our hearts if we're having a tough day, and to make us smile if we're having a good day. Help us to be the good people that others notice and take delight in. And when we're not, help us to put things right, because the goodness in the world is worth repairing. Amen. Cool. Now, one of the things I take delight in is my cat, and I think she might be hungry. So I'm probably going to have to say goodbye to you and go and feed her. But yeah, my challenge to you, take delight in the people and the things around you, because there's a lot of goodness out there to celebrate. See you later.